The training grounds of eternal champions have become ground zero for the most bewildering physical transformation crisis in the history of heroic development. Master trainer Gorath Iron Muscle, whose legendary training methods have produced 17 different world-saving heroes over the past 4 decades, stands in complete bewilderment watching Darian the Destined perform his morning strength assessment routine. For 6 months, every exercise, every workout, every carefully calibrated training regimen has been designed around one fundamental expectation: that their prophesied savior would grow progressively stronger, more muscled, more physically imposing until he reached the peak condition necessary to literally punch through the dimensional barriers protecting the realm of infinite shadows. But what's happening instead is so catastrophically opposite to every principle of heroic physical development that Master Gorath is questioning whether he's witnessing divine intervention or cosmic practical joke. Darian isn't just getting weaker, he's getting smaller. His massive frame shrinking day by day, his legendary muscles diminishing, his imposing stature reducing until he looks more like someone who needs protection rather than someone capable of protecting the entire universe. If you want to understand what's really happening behind the scenes of this prophecy and which secrets have been hidden by the ancient guardians, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and comment below if you think physical strength is overrated or if our shrinking hero is doomed to failure. Let me paint you a picture of the most confusing physical transformation anyone has ever witnessed. And what you're about to learn will make you question everything you thought you knew about the relationship between size, strength, and heroic capability. 6 months ago, Darian the Destined stood 7 feet tall with shoulders broad enough to use as a small table, arms that could bench press a fully loaded ox cart, and chest muscles that had their own gravitational pull. The prophecy of ultimate strength was absolutely clear about his physical development. He would grow, larger and more powerful each day, until he achieved the legendary status of living mountain, capable of arm wrestling dragons and winning, lifting entire castle towers as improvised weapons, and using his bare fists to carve new mountain ranges when he needed to blow off steam after particularly stressful world-saving activities. But here's where everything goes spectacularly, impossibly wrong in ways that make every physical trainer in existence question their understanding of how muscles, strength, and heroic development are supposed to work. 6 months later, Darian stands barely 6 feet 2 inches tall, his once mighty frame now appearing almost normal-sized, his legendary muscles reduced to what most people would consider merely impressively athletic rather than cosmically overwhelming. The training equipment specifically designed for his prophesied giant strength, weights that require divine blessing just to lift off the ground, resistance machines built to challenge someone with the physical power of tectonic plates, now seem absurdly oversized for his diminishing frame. Can you even comprehend the crisis this is creating throughout the entire heroic training infrastructure? The Academy of Ultimate Physical Preparation has spent 3 years developing specialized programs designed to push someone with Darian's prophesied massive strength to even greater heights of physical impossibility. Now their master trainers are frantically trying to figure out how to adapt their cosmic level fitness routines for someone whose strength requirements are becoming more, well, normal with each passing day. The sacred gymnasium of infinite gains, built with reinforced dimensions to accommodate a hero of legendary proportions, now makes Darian look like a regular person working out in a facility designed for titans. But wait, because what happened during yesterday's benchmark strength testing will absolutely blow your mind and make you realize that physical diminishment might be hiding something far more extraordinary than anyone initially understood. The testing protocols, designed to measure improvements in Darian's cosmic level strength, revealed something that defies every principle of physics, biology, and heroic development that anyone has ever studied. While his overall size and muscle mass have decreased significantly, his actual functional strength hasn't diminished at all. In fact, in some specific areas, it's actually increased. He can still lift the hammer of divine judgment, still wield the sword of infinite weight, still perform feats of strength that should be impossible for someone of his now normal proportions. The implications of this discovery will revolutionize everything we think we know about the relationship between physical size and actual power. And what the master physiologists are uncovering about Darion's transformation will make you question whether bigger has ever really meant stronger. Dr. Magistrix Valdris, the most learned scholar of heroic biology in the known world, has been conducting detailed examinations of Darion's changing physiology, and her findings are staggering in their implications. His muscle density has increased exponentially as his overall size has decreased, creating a form of strength concentration that allows him to maintain incredible power while occupying a much smaller physical space. It's as if his legendary strength is being compressed and refined rather than lost. Think about what this means for just a moment, and prepare to have your understanding of heroic capability completely transformed. Traditional heroic development assumes that greater power requires greater physical size, bigger muscles, larger frame, more imposing presence. But what if true strength doesn't come from being bigger than your problems, but from being more concentrated, more efficiently powerful, more precisely capable of applying exactly the right amount of force in exactly the right way? What if Darion isn't getting weaker at all, but rather becoming a more refined and perfected version of strength that doesn't require massive size to achieve incredible results? The training methods have been completely revolutionized to accommodate this new understanding of concentrated strength. And what the master trainers are discovering about efficient power application will transform heroic development forever. Instead of focusing on exercises designed to build maximum bulk and size, they're now developing techniques that enhance precision, control, and the ability to channel tremendous power through smaller, more focused applications. Darion's new training regimen looks nothing like traditional heroic preparation. Instead of lifting increasingly massive weights, he's learning to apply perfect leverage. Instead of building overwhelming physical presence, he's mastering the art of precise, concentrated impact. Leave a comment below about whether you think concentrated strength is superior to massive strength, or if our shrinking hero is just making the best of a bad situation. But here's where things get truly mind-bending, and what the deepest analysis of Darion's transformation reveals will make you reconsider the entire concept of physical power and heroic capability. The ancient texts, when reinterpreted through the lens of concentrated rather than expansive strength, reveal references to legendary heroes who achieved their greatest victories, not through overwhelming size, but through what the original prophecies call perfect density of purpose. These weren't heroes who dominated through massive physical presence. They were champions who perfected the art of applying unlimited power through precisely controlled, efficiently concentrated action. The weapons and equipment specifically designed for Darion's prophesied giant strength have undergone remarkable transformations as they adapt to his changing physical reality. And what's happening to the legendary artifacts will make you understand that magical items might be far more intelligent and adaptable than anyone previously realized. The armor of infinite bulk, originally designed to enhance and amplify massive physical size, has begun reshaping itself to provide what can only be described as armor of perfect fit, protection that enhances concentrated power rather than expanded presence. The gauntlets of crushing might have transformed into gauntlets of precise impact, allowing for incredibly focused applications of strength rather than overwhelming displays of raw power. The enemy forces, who have spent years preparing defenses against a massively powerful giant hero, are discovering that their entire strategic approach becomes useless when facing someone whose strength operates on principles of concentration rather than expansion. And what the Dark Lords are experiencing will make you realize how dependent evil is on predictable, overwhelming displays of power. The fortress of infinite resistance, built with walls designed to withstand the assault of someone who could punch through mountains, offers no protection against precisely applied force that targets specific structural weak points, rather than attempting to overwhelm through brute strength. The army of crushing opposition, trained to counter massive physical attacks, finds itself helpless against surgical strikes that neutralize threats through perfect precision rather than overwhelming force. The psychological impact on both allies and enemies has been profound, and what everyone is discovering about the relationship between physical presence and actual capability will transform how the world understands strength, power, and heroic effectiveness. Allied soldiers who initially felt less confident, following a smaller-looking leader, are now reporting that Darion's concentrated strength is actually more inspiring than his previous massive presence, because it demonstrates that true power doesn't require intimidating size. It requires perfect mastery of capability. Enemy forces, conversely, are experiencing a different kind of fear. Instead of being overwhelmed by massive strength, they're terrified by the unpredictability of precisely applied power that can achieve incredible results through methods they don't understand. The master strategists have had to completely reconceptualize their battle plans to account for a hero whose strength operates on entirely different principles than originally expected. And what they're discovering about concentrated power tactics will revolutionize military thinking forever. Instead of strategies built around having an overwhelmingly powerful champion who can smash through enemy defenses, they're developing approaches that utilize surgical precision, perfect timing, and the ability to achieve maximum results through minimum but perfectly applied effort. The new battle plans look nothing like traditional heroic warfare. They resemble cosmic surgery more than cosmic combat. But perhaps the most remarkable discovery about Darion's transformation is what it's revealing about the true nature of the prophecies themselves. And what the deepest scholarly analysis is uncovering will make you understand that misinterpreting divine visions might be a far more common problem than anyone previously realized. The original prophecy of ultimate strength, when examined by linguistic experts who specialize in ancient divine languages, apparently never mentioned physical size at all. The word that was translated as mighty actually means perfectly effective. The phrase interpreted as overwhelming power really means precisely adequate force. The entire expectation of massive physical development was based on translation errors compounded over centuries of retelling. The implications of this linguistic revelation are staggering, and what it means for prophetic interpretation will transform how divine visions are understood and applied. If the prophecy of ultimate strength was misunderstood so fundamentally that everyone expected the opposite of what was actually foretold, how many other prophecies have been misinterpreted in similar ways? How many heroes throughout history might have failed because they were trying to fulfill translated expectations rather than original divine intentions? The scholarly community is now undertaking a massive project to re-examine every major prophecy using original divine languages rather than translated interpretations. The training philosophy at the Academy of Ultimate Physical Preparation has undergone such a complete transformation that they're considering changing their name to the Academy of Perfect Efficiency. And what the new training methods are achieving will make you reconsider everything you thought you knew about developing heroic capability. Instead of pushing students to achieve maximum size and overwhelming presence, they're now teaching the principles of concentrated effectiveness, how to achieve the greatest possible results through the most efficient possible applications of power. The new graduates aren't massive, intimidating warriors. They're precisely capable champions who can solve problems through perfect understanding of leverage, timing, and targeted application of exactly the right amount of force. As Darian continues his transformation toward whatever his optimal size will be, he's now appearing to be roughly 6 feet tall and still, gradually decreasing. The nature of strength itself is being redefined throughout the heroic community. Traditional concepts of power, based on overwhelming force, are giving way to new understandings of effectiveness based on precision, concentration, and the ability to achieve perfect results through perfectly applied effort. The legendary strength that everyone expected to manifest through massive size is instead appearing as incredible capability concentrated into an increasingly efficient and precisely controlled form. The final preparations for the ultimate battle have taken on a completely different character, as everyone involved begins to understand that they're not facing the failure of prophetic strength, but witnessing the evolution of strength into its most perfected form. And what this means for the confrontation with the realm of infinite shadows will transform how victory itself is conceived and achieved. Instead of overwhelming the forces of evil through massive power, Darian will defeat them through perfect application of concentrated strength that strikes at the precise points where darkness is most vulnerable to precisely applied light. The Dark Lord's final desperate strategy reveals just how completely this transformation has altered their understanding of what they're facing. And what they're attempting will either force a return to traditional massive strength or prove once and for all that concentrated perfection is infinitely more powerful than expanded intimidation. Intelligence reports suggest they're trying to force Darian back to his original massive size, believing that they can handle traditional overwhelming strength better than they can counter perfectly concentrated efficiency. But here's the cosmic irony that will determine the fate of all existence. By trying to make strength larger and less focused, evil reveals its fundamental dependence on predictable, overwhelming displays of power, while good demonstrates that its ultimate effectiveness lies in perfect precision that achieves maximum results through minimum but perfectly applied effort. The ultimate confrontation approaches not as a clash between massive forces, but as a demonstration of whether perfect efficiency can overcome imperfect expansion. The outcome will be determined not by who can display the most overwhelming power, but by who can apply exactly the right amount of force in exactly the right way to achieve the perfect result. Darian, now smaller but infinitely more concentrated in his strength, represents not a diminished hero, but the ultimate evolution of what heroic capability can become when it transcends the limitations of size-based power and achieves the perfection of precisely applied strength. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because in our next video, we're exploring what happens when concentrated strength reaches its ultimate form, and why the ancient texts suggest that perfect precision might be the only force in existence capable of unraveling the foundational principles that make infinite darkness possible.